Okay, so we've got some security, we got some authentication set up. Now, I'd really like to get them on focusing on actually getting ready for the site, the web page and stuff we're going to actually see when we actually get into the conference. So I'm thinking things like, being able to see a list of the sessions that are going to be happening at the conference.
You're really picky. Okay.
Demanding that way.
Fortunately, we can make this happen. So let's talk a little bit about creating web pages that are going to be displaying data. So one of the very just basic core developer concepts whenever you're delivering or creating web pages is that it can be repetitive, that you wind up doing the same things over and over and over again, that it's repetitive, that you're going to create a form, and then you're going to repeat that, and you're going to create another form, and you're going to repeat that, and you're going to create another form, and you start to see where all of this is
Christopher,
going.
you know how I was mentioning I needed a web page to list the sessions? I'd also like a web page to build to list all the different speakers, because people often want to know who the speakers are. And I guess I'll need one to list all the different tracks, too.
See? A lot of extra work. And a lot of that code is very similar. I mean, let's stop and think about grabbing a details page. That what we're going to need is some bit of HTML. And that's probably going to need to be customized across the board. But when it comes to going in and loading the data, it's the exact same thing over and over again. That give me the ID, or give me the full list, or do paging, or something like that. I don't want to have to go in every single time and have to create that code over and over and over again. And let's be straight about something. Copy and paste is never the answer. That even copy and paste is repetitive, and when things change, having to go back and fix all of that is also going to be a problem.
Okay, by the way, Christopher, I haven't decided yet if I want the controls at the top of the page or the bottom of the page, so I might change my mind about that later.
So let's talk about how we can simplify all of that. Now, there's a buddy of mine that likes to say we're not launching rockets here. And the point that he's making when he says that is whatever it is that we're trying to do, somebody else has already done. So let's use the code that's already written, and whenever possible, use automatically generated code. This is where class-based views come into play. That with a class-based view, it'll automatically generate the view code for us, and in certain cases, can even generate the appropriate HTML. So for example, with an index page, think about it. What we need to do is we need to load the page and then call render to display that out. Let's not do that. Let's instead use class-based views. Now, Django has a bunch of built-in class-based views that we can use. So we've got list view for a list, detail view for an individual item, and then we've got the cut of CRUD, which is create, update, and delete. Now, we do still need some HTML, and it will have to follow a convention, although, by the way, you can actually change the name of the template if maybe you wanted a different name, or maybe even share some code, which we'll potentially take a look at a little bit later. But you'll notice that for all your items, it's going to be whatever the name of your class is, underscore list. For an individual item, it's going to be underscore detail. And then finally, last but not least, for the form, it's going to be whatever the name of your class is, and then form. So let's take a look at how we could do that list view. And what you're going to notice right here is that we have, let me just make sure that I'm on pen, and I am. Cool, cool, cool. What we have right here is our little session list, and we inherit from list view. Now you're going to notice that we're just simply going to say that the model is session. But nowhere in here is anything at all to access the database.
Yeah, there's no code there saying go do a query, retrieve all records, or anything like that.
It's going to do it all on its own. I don't have to do that, which is wonderful. Now, I do, of course, still need to update my URLs pie, and you're going to notice that what I'll wind up doing is I'll just simply say my session list as view, and then I can actually have the view from there. There is one small typo on this slide that I'm going to fix in the code. That should really be session list here rather than import session. So just a little typo. I really wish that Visual Studio would give me PowerPoint would give me IntelliSense.
Yeah, so you can remember when you've made a typo on a module name.
That'll be coming in PowerPoint 2020. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at how we can implement all of that. So what I'm going to need is I'm going to need that, that particular list coming in here. So I'm going to head on into my from Django dot, and I want my views and my generic views. And you know, I'm going to make my life a little bit easier. I'm just going to import everything here rather than importing the individual ones, because over the course of the next couple of demos, I'm going to be grabbing more as well.
Yeah, you're just using list view now, but later we're going to want to be able to delete and updates and all of that.
Exactly. Yep. So let me go ahead and create a class here, and I'm going to say session list, and that's going to inherit from list view, just like that. And just simply model equals session. Now, I also like to mention here that there's a lot of power to these views. So if you wanted to go in and set the template to be something else, you could go in, change the template name. If you wanted to go in and update the query set to maybe do some inline filtering, you can do that. So you have an awful lot of power here. So don't think, even though this is the demo that I'm going with, that you're stuck with just the default display. There's an awful lot of power. There's an awful lot of flexibility that you have of just going in and updating various properties. Very powerful. Okay. And then let's also set up my session detail here, and you'll notice that that's going to be my detail view, and that's going to be model equals session. Perfect. Now I've already got the HTML built, and I'm going to open that up in just a moment, but I am going to need my URLs updated here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to say URL, and we'll say R. And let's go ahead and do kind of a classic of sessions. And then we'll make sure that it ends with that. And then we'll say my views. And this is going to be my session list as view. And then name equals. And I'm going to go with sessions underscore list. I'm actually going to use kind of a better naming scheme as I go forward. And then let's also add in the details. So I'm going to say that, and I'm going to say sessions / and this needs to be a parameter, and that's going to be my primary key, and that needs to be 0 through 9, and I need at least one of those. And so now let's go ahead and say views. So I'm just going to make sure that that ends with that. There we go. So we'll go ahead and say views and my session detail, and then as view, and then our name will be my sessions detail. Okay. So now I've got both of those registered. So in theory, we're all set and ready to go. The last little thing that I want to highlight is the HTML. What you're going to notice here is here's my session list. So what we have is we have our object list. That's the default name. Again, you could go in and change that if you want to. So that's going to be our collection of sessions. I want to display all of those out. I want to display them as links. And so you're going to notice that I'm just going to pull in the URL that I want, which is sessions detail, which is what I renamed it to, right over there. Mm-hmm. And then you'll also notice that I'm going to add in the one parameter that we need, which is the primary key for our session. And we're going to display the title as the text. Under my detail, instead of it being object list, you're going to notice that it's going to be object. So we'll have our title, we'll have our abstract, and we'll have our speaker, and we'll display all of that back out. And I suppose if I wanted to, I could also add in a little link down at the bottom just to go back to the list page. So we'll just say real quick class equals row, and we'll just say div class equals call md3. And let's say anchor href equals, and my URL, and I want my sessions list. I'm 99% certain that's what I called it. I have a great memory. It's just really short. Okay.
And again, use
and I am
awesome.
Just going to make sure, yeah, sessions list.
Yep.
Go me. Okay.
Nice, and you're using all those awesome Bootstrap features in there as well, which you said you've got a whole MVA that explains all that call MD3, MD9 on Bootstrap if that's not something you're familiar with. There's lots of resources on the MVA on Bootstrap to help you with that, which happens to feature a familiar face.
Fair warning, all the jokes are the same. And by that, I mean they're all still terrible. All right, so if we take a look here, what you're going to notice is that I've got the site up, and I really could go back to my index page and add in a link to sessions. For right now, what I'm going to do is just simply launch my sessions. You're going to notice that, sure enough, there's the 4 that we had entered earlier.
That's what I'm looking for. There we go.
And you'll also notice that if I click on an individual one, that there's all the items right there, and then return to list, and then that will take me back. And, you know, just because I feel like it, and because I'm afraid that Susan is going to start yelling me and beat me about the head, she does that. I'm going to add in...
Only with a pool noodle, you know, it's pretty harmless.
I am going to add in the real quick link to sessions. So we'll just say anchor href equals, and then curly %URL, and then sessions list, and make sure that I've got that, and sessions.
Nice.
Beautiful.
So now I've got someone coming to the conference. They go in, boom, there's a nice link. They can see a list of all the sessions.
Exactly.
Love it.
That's it. So now we've got our list view and our details view. Of course, something tells me in another module.
Actually, there is one more thing, but I think we can cover that in the next module.
Let's do that.